another one of these Panasonic made VCRs. This one here won't thread a tape. And the reason why on this one here is, as we can see, if we pull the top off of it here and take a look, this is the same chassis I was showing you the top mechanism alignment before. Well, this time we've got a problem with a guide that's come loose on this one. And if you look on here, if I just pop the circuit board out, you'll notice that one of these guides has come disconnected. Also, the cassette is completely out, but you notice that the exit side guide is in the loaded position. So we know, based on that we have a mechanical problem. I already showed you guys how to do on one of these mechanisms, how to do the top side alignment, so I'm not going to touch that in this video. I'm going to deal with the bottom side alignment on this one. So now we have the bottom off of the mechanism. I'm looking at this guide here, and I see that this guide has come completely disconnected from the supply side guide, and this guide is up. So what we need to do is we need to time this mechanism. So I'm going to take the belt off here first. This is one of those crazy mechanisms that use the solenoid to operate, to load and unload the tape. And basically what we need to do is we need to line up all the timing marks on here. You'll see that there are some timing marks. I'm going to take the camera off here so we can take a look at these timing marks that are on here. And some of them are already correct. Like this one here is correct. You can see the little arrow that's pointing right here. That one's okay, but these ones are wrong. So to time the bottom side of this mechanism, I have to take this retainer off and take out a couple of screws here. And we're going to line up all the timing marks, and I'll show you how to do it. So the first thing we do is we remove this screw that holds the retaining plate in place. And then we have to pop up both sides of this mechanism here, this retaining clip. So we have to take off both of these clips, and the easiest way to do it is just to pry a screwdriver underneath it and slide it up. These are called snap rings, although I don't have the tool that's used to remove them. So I just use a screwdriver. Now we can lift off this retaining clip and we can lift out these gears. This is a planetary gear set that this uses. This is how it transfers power. Works kind of like how an automatic transmission works. You've got a sun gear, a ring gear, and a planet gear, and a planet carrier. And basically, power is applied, and it goes in through the sun gear, turns the planet gears, and depending on whether this other gear is unlocked or locked, will either transfer power to this ring gear, which then transfers power. The ring gear here, zoom the camera in, so you can see it. Try and bring the camera in a little closer here to make it even easier to see. This ring gear transfers power underneath through another gear below, which transfers power to the front loading mechanism, and it has timing marks that line up. And its timing mark is right here. There's a little hole that points towards this other gear. And there's a little hole right here on the end of this timing gear that lines up. There are 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. These 2 holes line up with the 2 holes that are in this other gear. We're going to pull this cam assembly off. This is what lines up the front loading mechanism. We want to line up the gears on the front load on the guide. So we want to bring these guides back. And there's 2 gears here that are out of alignment too. They're on here. There's 2 holes. There's 1 hole here, and there's 1 hole there, and then we need to line those up. So to do that, I actually have to remove this other gear from its post. So I'm just going to move the camera out of the way a bit here. This is where it gets really complicated. So I'm just going to lift this gear off. Bring my guide back and reinstall the guide post or guide arm onto the pin and place it on the guide post assembly, and then I have to bring it back so that both line up like that, and you'll see the two alignment holes facing each other. So now when these gears rotate, they move the two tape guides into position correctly. On this gear here, there's a little alignment hole here, and you'll be able to see this little pin. Whoops, you can't see it there. Let me move the camera. Yeah, I'll move the VCR. This little pin here. You'll be able to see this little pin through this hole when your alignment is correct. Your timing is correct for this gear. Then your metal cam gear goes in place. And it has a hole here that lines up with, there's a little tab right there that points to this hole on this cam gear. And then that gear slides into place. Push it all the way down. That locks that into place. Now we just have to put the planet gear set back into place. The planet carrier and planet gears are aligned by lining up the holes on the mechanism for that. And they line up with, there's two more holes on this gear here. They line up with that, and there's a third alignment hole here. Let me just zoom this camera back just a bit so you can see what I'm doing. There's two holes here, one there and one there, and there's another one here. This one is pointing at this alignment hole on this gear. That one lines up with this, and these two line up with these other two gears here. So when we put the sun gear with the planet gears on it in place, all three of them should line up with the appropriate holes. Like that. I'm off by one tooth. There we go. So when I look down through here, I'll be able to see through the planet carrier and see the holes down below. When these are put together by machine, there's actually pins that line them up. Now I can reinstall, and I'm looking down at my other alignment holes. There's holes here, these are all lined up. So this one was okay. Just the only problem that was on this was that these gears were out of phase and this one was out of phase. So when I put this back in place, this holder assembly, and put the screw on it and tighten this down, I should be able to run this mechanism through its paces by hand without putting any power to it, and therefore I'm not going to risk damaging anything if my timing is out. We'll just put the two snap rings back on. And push them tight. And then there's another one that goes on the other side here. That holds the mechanism in place. To put this thing through its paces manually, I'm going to stand the machine up on its side. I have to release the tape compartment catches so that the tape compartment can drop. Okay, now my tape mechanism has gone down. It completes that part of the loading cycle. Sorry, pull the solenoid in. The power split device now reverses or transfers power to these gears as opposed to the gear underneath. And my mechanism is now loaded. To unload, I'll pull the solenoid back and I'll unload the tape. You'll see that the tape comes back, the tape guides are releasing. And now the power split device here, once this there's a couple cams here. I don't know if you see it, but if I zoom this camera in, this is what changes the power split device, which is the planetary gear set. Okay, as the mechanism unloads, you will see, I'll show it to you in reversing it here slowly. Where am I? Where's my lever? Okay, you watch up here. You'll see as I get to the position where it's going to load the tape as opposed to thread and unthread, this is now going to transfer power to the front loading mechanism. So this little lever here is going to go into there's a little cutout, little cam in this gear, and it drops in. You see that? Now when that drops in, that stops this gear from rotating, which then forces the planetary gear set. If you notice here, this bottom gear is not rotating down here. This bottom gear is not rotating, but as soon as this gear is stopped from turning, it will now transfer power through the power split device, which now rotates that bottom gear, which through the gear that's underneath here rotates the loading mechanism gear. You can see the loading mechanism gear right up here at the top of the mechanism. You see that there? So when the tape goes down, I can't now because the cassette is up. But anyway, that's how that works. So if I put the belt back on and we turn on the power to this machine and I load a tape, you'll see the way this thing operates in real time. Okay, tape goes in, and you'll see what the mechanism does now that it's working. And there we go. Our mechanism is back in time. And you see the little gear enters here, the can gear assembly, and it transfers power over to the front loading mechanism. That is how to time one of these Panasonic mechanism from the bottom. You already saw the other video on how to do the top side. These are a rather complicated machine, probably one of the most complicated machines that Panasonic produced. They made zillions of these machines. These were the last of the so-called solid aluminum die-cast chassis machines. A lot of these on the market, and very good, reliable machine, but you've got to spend a bit of time on it. I think we'll clean the rotary encoder on this while I've got this apart. I was thinking of maybe doing another video on cleaning the rotary encoder, but I think what we'll do is we'll do it right now. To clean the encoder switch, This one has 2 encoder switches. One of them is on the front loading mechanism, which I'm not going to clean because it's hard to get at. The other one is this one back here. It's right here. Just remember the alignment. There's a little dot that points to a little V groove. So to remove the encoder switch, we need to unsolder these terminals down here. Best way to do that is just with the good old solder wick and your soldering iron. And I don't know how good you guys are going to be able to see this. This chassis is not the easiest one to work with. To say these were one of the more complex of the Panasonic made VCRs. They were relatively reliable, but they weren't the easiest ones in the world to work on. When these switches go bad, when they get dirty, the symptom that we have is that the solenoid will go tick, 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 and it will actually overheat the solenoid and pop the thermal cutout fuse. So we want to try and get these switches, take them out and clean them before they cause a problem with the machine. And so we just heat the pins up and lift it, and then the switch just comes out just like this. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but there's the switch. Okay, once we get the switch out, these ones here aren't quite as easy to take apart as other ones. This is this alignment mark I was telling you about. The little, there's a little groove here where my fingernail is, and then there's the little hole here lines up with that little V-shaped groove. That's the alignment point. When you put it back in, that has to be pointed at here when it meshes with the tower gear. These ones here aren't quite as easy to take apart as some of the more recent vintage ones because they don't put a cut washer or anything on here. So you actually have to peel this washer off, and then to get it back on, we actually have to cut a groove in it to make it go back on. Because once it's off, it's off. These ones are never designed to be cleaned. These switches here were designed to be replaced. So once we get the washer off, just put a little cut in it, turn it into a cut washer. With your side cutters or snips or whatever you're going to use, just put a little straight cut across like that so that it's easy to put this back on once we put the switch back together. Once you've got it apart, the switch comes apart just like that, and we just want to wipe these contacts out. You can use a cleaner if you want. Neutral is a very good cleaner. That's usually what I use. I wipe the contacts out first. As you can see, that there is a fair bit of dirt on here, even though this one hadn't failed. They certainly get a lot blacker than that. Just wipe out your contacts. Get your contact cleaner handy. And again, I just use Neutral. It's this stuff here. It's as good as anything. Put a bit of grease on there. Sometimes people put a little bit of lithium grease on there. I don't. I just use good old Neutral. It provides an oil film and keeps the contacts clean. Now you can rotate the switch a bit. Once we put it back together, we can rotate the switch. And this clip that I've now turned into a cut washer, we can just put that back over and clip it on. Just like that. That'll hold the switch back together. Spin it around a bit to polish those contacts, and then we're going to line up the hole with the little V groove here. We're going to place the switch back in, drop it in place, and make sure that our timing is correct. Once we get the switch in place, little black screw holds it in place. That'll line the contacts up with the little flexible circuit board that we need to resolder it to, and tack it back down. So once again, load up our tape. This tape is kind of buggered up because I dropped it. Thread it up. off here. Turn the sound off before YouTube gets upset. There, it's tracked itself up. There we go. Another one fixed. So I'll show complete mechanism operation through all modes now. Push the tape in, tape goes in, half loads. If I go to play, the tape will, where is it here? Where's the play button? Play. There we go. Tape goes into play. And of course it plays. Stop. Tape unloads, as you can see, to half loaded position. Go to rewind. Tape goes into rewind. Fast forward, tape goes into fast forward. And eject. Tape is unloaded. There you go. That's the mechanism here for this machine. I think we've done about everything we can on this particular machine. We've shown you the top side alignment. I've showed you the bottom side alignment. I've showed you cleaning the heads. I've showed you cleaning the mode encoder switch, the rotary encoder switch back here. I think we've pretty much covered everything that the common problems on this type of chassis made by Panasonic. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll find something something else to look at for the next one, but I think we've pretty much done all of the common ones. This is the solenoid I was talking about down here. If this mode switch back here gets excessively dirty, this will start ticking. And here it go click, 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 and it will eventually overheat. There's a little thermal cutout fuse underneath that strip of blue tape. A little thermal cutout will actually open, and then the machine is completely dead and it doesn't do anything. So that's something to keep in mind. You can measure that. You have to actually cut through the tape that's on there, but you can measure continuity between where are we here? Can't see it. Between here and here, you can measure that if you cut this tape. If that goes open, then you know the reason why is because it's overheated, and it's because of this mode encoder switch has gone bad. Anyway, I think we've pretty much done everything we can do on this chassis, so for the next VCR servicing video, I'm going to find a different chassis, because I think we've pretty much done everything on this one that we need to show you. You have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video.